Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. Fun time had by all. I'm Petey Rave. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my quorum. We've got David.
Have you ever gone to a Waffle House in the middle of a night and had to tip extra because the cook had to fend off an entire punk band on bath salts and managed to get none of their blood and you're scattered, smothered, and covered? That's what it feels like to drive the new Ford F-150.
Exactly. We've got Drew.
I was going to say hasta la vista, baby, and then this man did an entire promo on Ford trucks. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yes. Exactly. And last but not least, we have the new occupant of our rotating fourth chair, the one, the only, the wonderful, returning after a very long time. We'd love to have him back. Bryce.
Hi. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be back. It's been a while, but I am really looking forward to this.
Yes.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album. And as we start the rotation, I'm the provider of the album. And I provided an album that I hadn't listened to, at least not fully, until before I had picked it. But just I was curious just on the artist and the fact that she had finally released a full-length album so we could bring it on the show. And I was curious about her sound and her style. And I wanted to kind of see if we just brought it on, what would happen? We were talking about a very young Japanese singer-songwriter, 18 years old at the time of the release of this album. Young singer-songwriter who, by all accounts, I think writes and composes all the music. And I believe, from what I can tell, though it's hard to find discography and crew information on this album, plays almost all the instruments or all the instruments. Doul and her album, her official first full-length album, W.O.L.F, W.O.L.F, all caps with dots. Yeah, let's talk about expectations. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
My expectations coming into this album, after looking up Doul, was some guitar playing, maybe a little bit of shredding. She could show off some guitar licks and some songwriting ability. And I got most of those things from this.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
None. You were bringing an artist from not America. So my first thought was, okay, this is going to be produced well. And that's what I got, because that's always the thing when you bring something that I'm not familiar with from overseas is, okay, this is going to produce well. This is going to sound good. But like, you brought us pop music and you've brought us Love X Stereo. So there's a range that we can play in that I didn't know where we were going to play. And we played in a little bit of all of it, but like we'll get there.
Yes, I brought a spectrum. I brought BTS and I brought Wagaki band. So I brought like angry queer punk music and Billy Carter, and I brought like FX. So I'm proud of my spectrum. But last but not least, Bryce, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Pretty low. I tried to come in with an open mind, especially because the past few months I've been listening to just a lot of the same music over and over again. Mm-hmm. A lot of which is Japanese. So I'm very much in this like late 90s J-pop headspace. Yeah. And so I otherwise didn't have any expectations. I didn't really look Doul up before listening to it. Though I did actually find some crew information that might be interesting a little bit later. But I didn't really have much to go off of, and like from the cover art, which is really all I saw before I started, it's not one thing, which I think really fits with the album. It's like kind of glam, kind of very visual and colorful. It's kind of hard edge. It's kind of soft. And you get a lot of that in the album.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the album musically. It's hard for me because I don't always have the vocabulary, but yeah, it's an album of a lot of different influences. A lot of album of like a lot of pop influences, a lot of rock influences here and there, but very much a pop album, a very well made rock pop album. It's the instrumentation varies depending on what's needed for the song. It explores a lot of like different sounds and moods. It has a little bit of an edge here and there as needed, but in the way that you kind of like imagine a indie pop artists, like your Billie Eilish's or like Pink or these kind of artists. Not their exact sound, but like the mood that you would imagine, her attitude. She definitely brings in a lot of influences. Like she says that her two favorite artists are Nirvana and Rihanna. And I don't know if it's because those rhyme, but it's fitting. It's fitting because there's some like big pop like overtones, and then there's some like more of like the rock influences, guitar in there, very cool instrumentation. There's you're gonna have to understand that she is not a native English speaker, but is completely in English. And one of the fascinating things is that I always find it fascinating. It works fine. You just kind of listen to the music, but the syllable distribution always kind of like catches you off guard. But it's cool. The lyrics are exploring a lot of the things, being a young woman, young person, but they're mostly just like well done pop lyrics. But the music is diverse in really nice ways. It goes into different styles and different moods really well, and explores things really well. Let's go to you guys. David, how would you describe this album musically?
I would describe this album musically as an audition. This was Doul auditioning, showing that she is capable of playing just about anything. And to her credit, she does that very well. I spent some time trying to find out what distinctive sound Doul is, and I'm not sure that I came across it just yet. But given that it is her debut album, I can kind of let that go. But there are a lot of stylistic changes throughout this album, from song to song, from track to track. Sometimes even within a song, there will be pretty stark stylistic changes, not unlike a favorite of mine, Poppy. And I think that if you are willing to kind of take a little bit of jarring movement, this might be a fun ride.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically? Oh, you're muted.
Fuck them kids.
Muted because I was typing, actually. But yeah, no, that was Midwest as fucking me. David's right. Like, it is a ride. There is a lot to it. The voice was not what I expected. Pleasantly so. I was because, like Bryce said, you have some glam elements in the artwork. So I was thinking like super polished pop, and there is a bit of like more raw honesty to the tonality, which I dig. Now hearing that she's a fan of like early 90s like Nirvana grunge makes my headspace on some of these songs make a lot more sense, because I was hearing some like not overdriven like they were, but like a Stone Temple's Pilots, like Alice in Chains-y sort of thing to a couple of the tracks here. One of them I grabbed out, but also a lot of a lot of modern pop influence. There was strong Billie Eilish vibes in a lot of this, which I can dig because I like my pop to be a little bit weird and eccentric. I'm more on like a Billie Eilish than some others. Rihanna is always great. Go old. I like Elton John. Like, it's that sort of stuff. It's stuff that is pop but different. It's more interesting. But the whole thing feels like it's a lot of throwing darts and seeing what sticks. There's not one overall tone to this. And I kind of dug that, especially the first record. And somebody so young, you have, God, I remember making music at that age, and you have a lot of inspirations you want to use all at once, and it doesn't always make sense together. And I like that energy. It's not going to be for everyone or for every instance, but there's songs that I could pick out of here and throw into like 3 or 4 different playlists and have it not miss a beat. I kind of dig that. I think it's cool. I would like to see her in the future, like, pick something and really dive into that. But as far as a first go, showing like, hey, here's all the inspirations I want to draw from in the future. Perfect.
Yes.
Like, pitch perfect.
Yes. Bryce, how would you describe this album musically?
Gosh, listening to this album, the first time I listened to this album was in my car. I'd put it on. I wasn't looking at the thing. I didn't know what I was getting into, so I turned it on. And at first, I wasn't even quite sure what language was going on at all. Her pronunciation is very specific, and I think you said it, Petey, that like the meter of the way she puts her lyrics is unusual. It's like not it's not clean, kind of the way some English lyric writing can be. But in terms of the sound, like, to back everybody up, it is definitely a mix of pop and rock and modern, whatever the new modern thing will be. And it really works. What I was blown away by was how consistent this album is. And I think that's it's partly because like half of these songs she's been putting out for the past couple of years. So there's a lot of work that's gone into it. And then in terms of, crew who are working on much of this music, what I was able to find just with a little bit of searching was that Doul does do a lot of the writing and the composing, and then in some of the songs she's done the arranging, but a lot of that has been handled by a Sony sound producer named Uru, not the singer Uru though, a guy named Uru. Yeah. And so he's attached to a lot of the songs. Like on Spotify, you just check out the credits and you're like, oh, Uru. That actually confused me because I know Uru, the female singer. And I thought, what the fuck is she? What is she doing? She's working on this. Doesn't sound like her. And so it ends up being someone who also has that same name. And so you get a really strong consistency through everything, whether it's the rock, whether it's the hip hop stuff, even when. What's the one song that sounds like What's It Like? Insane Boy. Yeah. Did anybody else catch that Insane Boy just sounds like Everlast's What It's Like?
Oh my God. Literally in my notes, I have insane, like I always do, the title of the track dash
about that song in forever.
I could screen share. It says Insane Boy dash Everlast anyone ? But literally was my thought on that one.
And I think even like the chord progression is you can kind of sing what it's like to that song a little bit.
I'm so glad I'm not insane.
And so, I read some
proof of it.
Yeah. So like it is a lot of everything, which is kind of the trend right now, is just put out the songs that you kind of want to make, and genre is not as important to the creation process. But I think this shows both a wide range of skills in terms of musical aesthetics and what feels authentic, right? It like that Insane Boy sounds like what it's like, and I'm not mad about it. I think that it is a different thing, and I think it's trying to do its own thing. In fact, the thing I kind of don't like about this is her singing is not stellar. She's a fine singer. She's good at rapping, but I really feel like she's a lyricist first, and I don't know that there's a lot of. I would love to see more vocal melodies, a little more poppiness, because there's some parts where it just feels like it drags a little bit. Like, oh yeah, you're hot stuff. You're a superstar. Okay, fuck them all. You're a superstar. Okay, fuck them all. You're a superstar. So it is a little bit of that, but she's young, and like for someone who's 18, 19 years old, like this is really, really impressive.
Yeah. We get into some of the tracks. It really shines in a lot of different ways. And you start off with the first proper track past the intro, Free, which kind of like announces this like her presence in a nice way, and kind of introduces, oh my god, I got mucus accumulating. Sorry,
artists.
But yeah, Free really kind of like gets things started in a really great energy way, and starts those little like those rock influences and those like rock influenced pop sounds really well, and it's sung pretty well, and kind of has that like nice like vocalist, like she sounds like a 90s adult contemporary rock singer, kind of like that, like your God, I'm the lady that did I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, something.
Alanis Morissette?
No.
Melissa Etheridge.
No, Melissa Etheridge, yes.
No,
sorry.
It's definitely not one of those two.
It's Melissa Etheridge.
It's Meredith Brooks.
Her too.
Yes. But might as well be. Honestly, Meredith Brooks is, we have Melissa Etheridge at home. But yeah, those sounds and those styles, and it does it well. We have something like A Dearest Friend, which is kind of like brings up like the epic pop sound, with like the fun like instrumentation in the background with I think with like some strings and like some horns there that just kind of like just there as like a cinematic feel to it. We have Howl, which kind of just goes into dance rock, kind of like you just go dance rock, but it does it really a really fun way. Bone, where she decides she wants to bring the bars, and Bone just like, must spit some hot bars. Fire. It does it well, and it's fun for like a fun pop record. We have like Bada Bing Bada Boom, which just gave me Kesha vibes, like at least in her vocals, like her way she sang that one, a little bit Kesha like, but yeah, the song is really cool and has just a fun like attitude to it. And then On My Way is kind of one of the more straightforward rockers in a way, and fun, and it kind of like caps it off with something like 16 Years, which is just like about being a little bit cast off because she's so young making music, and like I'm just I don't care if I'm just 16 years old, I'm doing this, like don't like discredit me just because I'm young, like I've got my own, I've got my own sound, I've got my own style, and I can do this. And it's just a really cool like rejoinder. It's one of her, it's the name of the EP that came out before this album when she was 16 years old. And it's a fitting kind of like rejoinder, like this nice little cap off at the end that works really well. David, what would be the key tracks for you?
Sorry, Drew. I really enjoyed the opening track on this album, The Wolf Is At My Back. I thought the vocal melody had kind of a drone to it that I kind of dug. Superhero, This song, as well as Bone, had kind of an earwormy thing going on where there was a groove that kind of stuck from start to finish, despite both of those songs having some pretty interesting style changes throughout. They kind of maintained a consistent beat. And Howl also is another one that kind of kept the same rhythm with a very modern pop chorus and then jumping into a rock part. So I thought that was really good. And the thing that I wrote down for Insane Boy is that it had all the vibes of an ending anime theme.
That could work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can get behind that.
I can dig it. I can get down with
Sucker.
that. Yeah, exactly. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, that's fine because actually I went with Free as the first one I'm going to mention. I'm doing the very not Drew thing, but that's because songs that can like sort of make me feel what a concert might feel like from the artist is always going to be a win with me. And there's something about that song I feel like with a crowd that just would play. There's Dearest Friends. That like if you didn't get some slight Billie Eilish vibes up until now, this one's going to hit you in the face with it real hard. The one that sort of exemplifies my thought of like she's listened to a lot of early 90s alt rock, and the Nirvana kicks that off. Stone Temple Pilots, your Alice in Chains, all of that sort of stuff. It's brighter. It's not as like overdriven and crunchy, but The Time Has Come has that like moody minor key thing to it. As much as I don't want to say the title, because anybody who wants to pull this out onto a soundboard, but bada bing, bada boom.
The joke, everybody, is that
I
Drew
feel
is Italian.
I'm Italian. I feel slightly attacked. But the bass line, come the hell on the bass line. Like the bass line's so good. Like the Lizzo song dropped, and that made me want to go grab my bass and learn that song. And then I heard this song. I'm like, God damn it! Now I got two songs I want to learn on fucking bass now. Like this. And then Insane Boy. Did anybody get Everlast vibes off of this? I don't know. Like there was.
Maybe
in retrospect, yes.
Stealing the content, Bryce. Son of a bitch.
That was good synergy, boys. Good synergy. That worked out well.
Yeah, corporate synergy. Bryce, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I think man, it's interesting because I think there's a lot of interesting good stuff on here, and I don't even know if I would have a favorite. But I also really like Howl. The interesting thing about Howl, and I think what makes it work more than some of the other stuff on the album, is that her writing style doesn't tend to have a lot of like distinctive vocal melodies, I feel like, or it tends to be a lot of interesting rhythms and a lot of interesting lyric writing. And what I like about Howl is that it is changing a lot. It constantly changes its sound and the energy a lot, and that actually kind of makes it feel a little more fun and a little less repetitive, just because you're getting a good rhythm. It's aesthetically it's very good. Dearest Friends is also good, though. That's one that I think
Friends.
Like I always thought I thought she was singing about Rick and Morty. And before I looked up the lyrics, which is not the case, it's just unfortunate pronunciation. But I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. I think also We Will Drive Next near the end of the album is an interesting one on the rock side in terms of having a kind of, I don't know, a little darker, a little lower rock song that fits in that is like trying to be that and works as that. So those are some of my standouts.
Let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
Like I said, I feel like this was a really good audition for Doul. I hear her trying a lot of different things, and she's good at them all. I guess I'm just not sure what is her, to use the Brett Hibbard term, what is her sproing? What is her thing? She's clearly very talented. You hear R&B on this album. You hear alt rock on this album. You hear lots of pop on this album. I'm just not sure who Doul is. I can kind of figure out what Poppy is, and that was the comparison that I made. I'm not so sure I was able to figure out who this artist is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I love artists and acts that can kind of weave through genres like this. I do like when they're able to transition a bit more smoothly. Thank You, Scientist being one of my favorites as an example. But this album, like the last Poppy album, it was like boom, and then boom, and then boom, and then boom. Like track to track, verse to chorus, just one thing after another. And it was a bit jarring in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was all pretty solid from start to finish. Petey, Drew, I'm going to use a sports analogy with this artist because I feel like she is a boom or bust draft pick. I feel like she's either going to be a megastar or she's going to be someone that is so all over the place that she's going to struggle to find an audience. And in another way, here's something else that I thought of. I could see her like joining up with, say, a superstar artist and being like their full-time collaborative partner. Somebody like a Lady Gaga or somebody that they would make an album with, because I hear someone who can pretty much play anything and write anything. And I feel like there's some real superstar breakout potential. I'm just not sure if it's complete yet. But since it's her first album, that's okay. Nobody's complete with their first album.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Drew, what will be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Like I said, I think the album as a whole throws a lot of darts. I think pretty much all of them stuck. In one way or another, I think you have a lot of good stuff on here. I think at times it does meander, but like David said, this is a young artist, and it's a young artist putting out an album in a day and age where a lot of music is being put out. Like, a lot of music gets put out before somebody drops an album, right? You have a lot of artists right now that are on TikTok, that are on YouTube. I mean, it's been happening for a while, and it's coalescing now around pop music. But you think about somebody like Bo Burnham, who put out like a song on YouTube, a song on YouTube, a song on YouTube, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, shit, I've got 10 songs. Let's make an album out of this, right? Even though some of them don't maybe fit with other ones, it's, I've got the material, let's go. And I think that's good in a couple of ways for music in general. One, it gives these younger artists room to grow and experiment without failing and hemorrhaging money. And I think that's good. But it also allows them to, once they get enough to put an album out like this, hopefully this sells. And if it's gotten our ears here in the States, it's probably not doing awful, right? We don't get the also rans and small artists from other countries usually. It's not as easy to find them here. So if that's the case, then what is the sophomore album from somebody who now has the money to sit in the studio and really say, what do I want to do with this album? And I think that this album's interesting, and this album gets me interested in seeing what that full thought could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bryce, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
You know what album I thought of as I was listening to this was No Mythologies to Follow by Mo or Ma. You might know her from the song, the Major Lazer song Lean On, or Cold Water, or other gigantic, huge dance music hits. But No Mythologies to Follow came out a few years before Lean On and all those other viral collaborations came out. And it's very similar, where it's like, it's very well produced. It feels very consistent. There are a lot of different sounds and sights. And overall, like, it's a fine album to throw on. And what it's missing is inspiration and a real drive to say, I'm going to be this thing. Because I think that's what you do when you're young, is you say, genres, whatever. And as you just, I mean, if you've done anything creative, you know that, like, when you start, the world is open to you, and it's very unique, and you don't ever get that again. So I'm glad that this album sort of represents that phase. But generally, people figure out what they like or what they're good at, and then they get into it. And I think, unlike Mo, who has kind of gone on to be a solo singer, songwriter, I think Doul has a very good album here. I think the idea that it's like an audition exactly works. And I think, just with kind of how the Japanese music industry is, they will try to focus her more on like K-pop and the youth, and either she'll get traction and she can be like the Japanese Olivia Rodrigo or someone talented. But otherwise, like, I think that there's plenty more for her, even if her music career doesn't, like, songwriting. Her songwriting is pretty good. Her lyric writing is really interesting, and I think she just needs an editor. But I don't know that she has necessarily the performance to be that all-in-one artist. So I like it. That's all to say. I liked it, and I think it's very good. And like was said earlier, like, this could either be the first half step to someone huge, or not.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I think it's a really cool, interesting album to kind of like see the early parts of somebody's career. She's young, she's skilled, and I think she has. I don't mind the rough edges, but I can definitely see those opportunities for her growth. But I think the sound is fun. The sound is cool. I think I wish I was a fraction as cool as she is, just like her aesthetic and her style.
You are cool, Petey Rave.
I wish
Petey
I was
Rave, you are a
fraction.
superstar.
I'm a cool now, but I wish I was a fraction of this cool at 18. Like,
don't we all?
Yeah, like, this is like, if I think about how I was when I was 18, I was like, oh no, I was not like a millisecond fraction of this cool. But yeah, she
I was in a ska band when I was 18. Let's not talk about not being cool.
Yeah.
My progressive rock phase is entering year 20.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, my girlfriend just shit on me hard. Just in the background, were you ever cool?
It's love,
fucking
people.
Awesome.
It's love. It's right there. That's true love. But yeah, like, this is a nice beginning of something really, really cool and really fascinating. I'm looking forward to watching her grow as an artist, as a performer, as a creator, and seeing where she takes it. And I'm looking forward to it. This is a fun, like, beginning and a fun audition. And also the sports analogy is that David dropped is gonna be extra fun when you hear my haiku. Look forward to that. Yes. Yeah. Speaking of that, those are our thoughts on Doul's W.O.L.F. I'll just say my big thought is just go check it out. It's a really cool addition. Really cool beginning an album. So those are our thoughts on Doul's W.O.L.F.
I'm especially interested in her next album.
Exactly. Go check it out. Check it out on Spotify playlist. Those are our thoughts. Now we get to the main event of the evening, the moment you've all been waiting for, where we sum it all up in poetic form. Our haiku reviews. Do all the 575. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. David, what is your haiku?
She weaves through genres. Their superstar potential, a boomer bust pick.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
Something for all kinds, and I think I dug it all. When's the next one drop?
Mm-hmm. Bryce, what is your haiku?
Woo! Singing raps, lyrical content stuffed in, consistent but green.
Mm-hmm. My haiku: young and talented, has it and tons of upside, plus plenty of cool. Yeah, the
upside pick.
Yes,
upside.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, those are our thoughts on Doul's
low floor,
W.O.L.F.
high ceiling.
Exactly. Those are our thoughts on Doul's W.O.L.F. You can of course find
Zion?
it on.
Yeah.
You can of course find it on our Spotify playlists, both of them. Play Record Breakers, a home game, do your due diligence, and your due diligence. You got two playlists, one with episodes slotted in, one without. Go check it out in our show notes. We have links to both right there. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it's going to be provided by David. David, what have you got for us next week?
Petey Rave, Record Breakers listeners and gang, as the unapologetic, unadulterated metalhead on the Record Breakers podcast, I cannot believe I have never brought this band. I'm stunned that I have never brought this band. Petey, can you believe that I have never brought Love Bites to this podcast?
Ooh. All right. That is...
I was scrolling through the Google Doc, and with all of my picks, one, it's been a really long time since I actually bought some like metal. And two, Love Bites. Like, of course I should bring Love Bites on. Of course, Petey, you're here. Bryce, you're here. Of course I should bring on a Love Bites album. We're bringing Electric Pentagram from Love Bites.
Yeah. I have already had this saved, because this was one of the albums I was like looking at. I
feel like it was either you or me.
Yeah.
And I was scrolling through the doc like, did I really never bring this album? Well, it looks like I haven't. Okay.
Yeah.
Love Bites, Electric Pentagram.
Exactly. So go ahead and check that out on the Spotify playlist. Get yourself ready for next week. But yeah, that is next week. And this is this week. You can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Drew is at X. Bryce is at Brightcast. Right there, you can see there. I'm at Petey Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for this and other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube and on Twitch, where we stream this live as often as we can, but hopefully every Thursday, as well as our other streams, including Through the Tomes, our D&D show, as well as my Mass Effect streams right now, or any other games I'm playing, and my Witcher streams with Daisy. We're playing Witcher 3. We just did some fun stuff in Skellige, so a lot of exciting stuff happening there, involving an ugly baby. I'll tease it with that. Ugly baby. But yeah, check out all the streams, like, share, subscribe, do all the calls to action that are imaginable. Thank you, all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Doodle toot.
안녕. Fighting. Get him, Matt. Get him, Squiggles.
Matthew Walton on the guitar, ladies and gentlemen.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.